On this episode of Mythbusters,
Don't tell them which ones we have.
Adam and Jamie outside their comfort zone in a footballing myth.
That we would, aspire to not be idiots.
They head for a hangar and hurl Hail Marys. Bang! To see if hang time really is higher with helium.
I love consistent data.
And Grant, Carrie, and Tori take a pot shot at a deadly myth.
Oh!
As they aim to catch a bullet in their teeth.
Oh my God, it blew his teeth out.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman.
Aren't tracer rounds illegal?
Between them, over 30 years special effects experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Joining them, Tori Bellacci,
Science is fun.
Carrie Byron,
Guess what I did today?
and Grant Imahara.
You guys ready for this?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
Adam, we have a sporting myth.
Only our second one, and it's surprising given that we're such jocks.
Exactly my thoughts.
Weren't you captain of the flag team in Indiana back in like the 20s?
No. Wrong, Jamie. The myth is that if you fill a football with helium and you kick it or throw it, that because it's lighter, it'll have more hang time and therefore it'll travel farther.
Oh, the old helium football trick. Let's get going.
Helium is lighter than air. That's the scientific cornerstone of this sporting conundrum. Fill a blimp with it and you'll float. But will it make a football fly further? It's game day at the Science Bowl, San Francisco City College.
Been a long time since you walked on the gridiron, huh? I know I'm out of shape when just walking to the end of this field makes me out of breath.
Luckily, the kicker for today's test is fighting fit and ready to punt his way into the Mythbusters Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this is our punter, Tim Sonnenberg.
Tim, Adam, nice to meet you.
Hi, Tim. Jamie.
Nice to meet you.
So, think you can give us a couple lessons in kicking the football?
Got a few tips for you guys today.
The myth that we've heard and that we're testing is that filling a football with helium will somehow make it fly farther than just a regulation football. Have you heard that?
Well, that's been going on for eons, as far back as I can remember, and I don't even know where the heck I got it from. But that's been the rumor for years.
What kind of improvement do you think helium would lend?
I believe helium would add a good 5 to 10 yards to a good kick.
Tim's confident, but is his opinion based on science or urban myth? He's about to find out. But first, a crash course in kicking. There's two types of kick in American football. The kickoff features the end-over-end variety, which gives maximum hang time and is hard to catch. The punt is for distance and accuracy. By imparting spin to the ball off the foot, this spiral kick generates less drag and so flies further, making it spot on for this myth.
Jamie, I know it's been like 40 or 50 years, but you ready to put on your old armor?
And what is the point of this? I could see you bringing some shoes, but the helmet and the shoulder pads are going to be for what purpose?
It's just amazing to me that you still don't realize we're shooting a TV show.
Well, yeah, but we would, aspire to not be idiots.
And yet we would fail. All right, let's start the lesson. Okay, so walking through like I'm your kid nephew, it's about my skill level. Dude!
That's amazing. That was a beautiful spiral.
You made that look way too easy.
It is if you walk into it.
A couple of handy hints, and the rookie's ready for his premier punt.
Just normal steps.
All right.
And before you can say hang time,
No spiral.
the ball's back on the ground.
All right. Your turn.
Bad. Okay.
Now let your foot go kick the ball.
Sports fans may want to look away now.
Not very
It's
good.
all coming back to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was so bad, it's worth another look.
Well, I totally sucked at that. But, football's not my sport. In fact, there really aren't any sports that are mine.
It seems that just as white men couldn't jump, Mythbusters can't punt.
Oh, I see.
Except in this case, there's no twist to the tail. They just can't.
It's hard. If I was doing the kicking for this test, we would be able to draw some conclusions, and those conclusions would be that I suck at kicking.
Oh.
I think we should get Tim to kick the balls for us because he's really good.
Makes sense. Tim takes care of the kicking, while Adam and Jamie take care of the nerding.
I brought a bunch of meters for the weather conditions just to make sure, we've got comparisons on everything, and I think we should just keep on checking the wind speed.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'll break out the brand new regulation balls that are filled to exactly 13 psi, which is what is required.
Oh, excellent.
Never been used.
But is that 13 psi of helium or air?
This ball feels a little light. Is it filled with helium?
Well, we couldn't tell you that, could we? Or we'd skew the results. So we'll tell you afterwards. How's that?
Here we go. Test number 1, punt number 1. Tim does his best to produce 5 identical kicks. Downfield, Adam records the distance of each one. For test number 2, the balls are emptied, then refilled with the other gas. Once again, it's crucial to the experiment that its identity remains secret.
Okay, these are ready. Don't tell them which ones we have.
Let's see how far they go.
Yeah.
Just 4 yards.
Tim puts up another 5 punts, this time with helium-filled balls. So, what were the results? And did he spot the difference?
From your standpoint, what do you think between the first 2 sets of balls? What were you kicking first and what were you kicking second?
It felt like the first set of balls I kicked were filled with helium.
Your first set of balls were actually regulation balls filled 13 psi with just regular air.
Wow. I would have thought that those were the helium balls.
Well, the second set was the helium balls.
That's surprising.
Once more, even though Tim didn't pick them, the helium balls did travel further than the air-filled ones by an average of 3 yards. But is that data reliable?
It looks like it supports the myth that helium does fly farther than air, but unfortunately, kick to kick, we're looking at a difference of like up to 20 yards sometimes. And when I see a difference of that between 2 data points, I just don't look at my average as being a real number. I'm not ready to call this one busted, plausible, or confirmed yet. I don't think we have enough real data.
Back at the Mythbusters lot,
Aim for my stomach, not my face.
it's a splatterfest. Carrie's up before the paintball firing squad, but she's taking it on the chin.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Is this just pointless but enjoyable victimization? Or might there be some myth-busting in there somewhere?
Some days, science is fun.
My guess? A little of both.
Grant, what myth have you brought us today?
The myth is you can catch a bullet that's fired at you in your teeth.
I always thought that was just a magic trick that people did.
Well, there are people out there that claim that they can do it.
So what are you guys going to do? Tori and you are going to fire guns at each other's faces and get some target practice?
Well, almost.
That's exactly what the boys in the bullet-catching business claim they do. Here's a clip from the 1952 show You Asked For It.
Would you now give the bullet to Mr. Shores? We'd like to have him place it in the gun. And then in firing position, if you will.
Ready? Aim. Fire.
Make up your own minds. Is this Superman in disguise, or did he have more than just his tongue in his cheek?
Could I see that bullet, please?
Cary Grant and Tori are going to find out. They'll run a three-part experiment. First, they'll run tests to see if teeth can withstand the force of a bullet. Next, put human reflexes under the gun to see if they're quick enough to catch a bullet.
That's a little scary.
And just in case they find that shock horror, it is only a conjuring trick, they're going to try and build a rig to catch a bullet traveling at almost 1,000 feet per second. First up, the teeth strength test. And Tori's found a set of dentures.
That's so gross. We got those from the mortuary. So what we're going to do is put a bullet in a pair of teeth with average biting strength and give it the amount of kinetic energy that a bullet would have if it were fired from a gun. And we'll see if the jaws can hang on to the bullet, then you are able to dissipate that kinetic energy. If you're not able to dissipate it, the bullet will come flying out of the teeth.
Here's the plan. The bullet will be clenched in the dentures, which will be held shut using air pressure from a pneumatic cylinder. A weighted pendulum will swing down to strike a metal pin, which will hit the bullet, delivering the same amount of force as a shot fired from a gun. Grant explains.
Now, of course, the bullet is very small and it's traveling very fast. We won't be able to have whatever we're making travel quite that fast. So we have to compensate by having it be much heavier.
Something else to chew over. The teeth have to be biting down on the bullet with regular human force. But how strong is that? Tori wraps his jaws around a force gauge.
117.10.
His best bite, 117 newtons, or 85 pounds of pressure. Grant calculates that to match the kinetic energy of a bullet, the pendulum must carry a 50-pound load and swing from a height of 4 feet. It's enough to set your teeth on edge. Grant pressurizes the choppers to match Tori's bite strength. And all these jaws want for Christmas is their 2 front teeth. Time for a rethink. Take 2, with the bullet at the back of the jaws. The pin is lined up to hit the slug head on. 50 pounds comes swinging in from 4 feet.
Wow! Is the bullet still in there?
Bullet's still in the teeth.
Let's take a look at the high speed and see exactly what happened.
Okay.
The bullet's still there, and the teeth, apart from 1 or 2 chips, are still intact.
That is some really unexpected results. I wouldn't have predicted that in a million years.
The dentures with Tori's bite force were actually able to hang on to the bullet, which is a very surprising result. And it lends a little bit of credence to something that so far we are all assuming is an illusion.
Hanging on to the bullet's one thing, but you have to be fast enough to catch it in the first place.
Fire!
Could anyone really bite down on a speeding slug?
Which one of you is Granny Mahara?
The team's going to test human reaction time to a pistol shot.
As soon as you hear or see something that tells you that I fired the gun, you're going to try to close down your mouth and see if you could physically possibly catch it.
By the way, so Grant doesn't die, they're using blanks. and a bulletproof plastic sheet.
In 3, 2, 1.
We all know that Carrie's quick on the draw when it comes to opening her mouth. But it turns out she can shut it fairly smartly, too.
Carrie had the fastest reaction time with 9 milliseconds.
Now, is that with or without the countdown?
That is with the preemptive countdown.
Well, I mean, we've shown that it's possible that you could time it so you could grab the bullet. But that's a total crapshoot. I mean, it's luck. So why don't we do a test where we could see if you could actually grab a projectile?
A projectile like, oh, I don't know, a paintball, perhaps.
I think you got a real good chance of catching these.
Tori's going to fire paintballs from a distance of 25 feet, and Carrie's going to try and catch them. Now, we've already seen what a well-aimed paintball can do.
I know you want to keep aiming at that spot, but can you not aim right at that spot again? It hurts a lot.
In a previous episode, Adam and Jamie held a paintball duel to see who could withstand the most pain and claimed the title of Ultimate Mythbuster.
This sucks. I don't want to do this anymore.
Needless to say, Adam lost.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that you're, actually have no heart or soul.
And given the smirk, neither has Tori. It might pay to don some suitable protection.
It comes with buffness.
Undaunted, Carrie steps up to the plate.
Suddenly this seems sort of like a bad idea.
You're going to be fine, Carrie. You're just going to have a few welts. You're going to love it.
Do a test fire. I want to see how fast it goes.
You got it.
The answer? 300 feet per second.
Holy... It's going to take a few trials here.
That's okay. I don't mind. I could do this all day.
You know, here on Mythbusters, one tries not to approach any experiment with a preconceived notion as to the outcome.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Fire.
But in this case, one thinks one can make an exception.
Fire.
That was close.
Really?
No.
I can't even see it.
If you can't catch this, there's no way you're going to be able to catch a bullet.
At 200 miles per hour, a paintball is only traveling 1/3 the speed of the slowest bullet.
I can see it coming at me, but by the time I can process the fact that my hand needs to grab onto it, it's already hit me. I'll see if I can't take the force from the projectile and stop it from breaking.
That's it.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us how that works out. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that looked pretty cool.
Oh!
Getting shot in the hand is one thing. Palming a paintball is quite another. The guys better think quick if they want to catch a bullet.
If you can't do it with your hand, there's no way you're going to be able to do it with your teeth.
Adam and Jamie have been taking a punt at the myth that a helium-filled football will fly further than an air-filled one. But even with a specialist kicker, the data were all over the park. Back at M5, the guys are having a rethink. And that done, they have a discussion.
The best place kicker in the world really can't make a football land in the same spot twice in a row. There's too much variance between the kicks.
We need to go back to the shop and get a lot more scientific about this.
Well, let's look at the very first part of this. Does helium actually make a football lighter? Let's carefully weigh some helium-filled footballs and some air-filled footballs and see what, if any, difference there actually is.
To weigh gases, they'll need some precision equipment. And they have a gem of an idea, a specialist store for jewelers.
We're here to purchase a scale that's extremely accurate. And these kinds of places specialize in jewelry and such, so, stuff like gold, you kind of want to be accurate about how much it weighs.
With helium versus air in the balance, the scales must be super sensitive.
Think we should weigh my wedding ring?
Oh, that's huge.
Look at that, 11 grams of solid gold.
Let's see whether we'll pick up the paper. Ooh,
nice.
It measures a Post-it.
Well, it goes to 1/10 of a gram. That's 0.00025 pounds.
Yeah.
That's like 1/4 of a thousandth of a pound. All right, we'll take it.
The jewelry store job goes like clockwork, and it's back to M5 for the weigh-in. Footballs can vary in weight by up to 7 grams, so they number the balls and record their dead weight.
Ha-ha!
Then they fill them up with the regulation amount of air, 13 psi.
Well, this is actually pretty cool. I'm getting almost exactly a difference of 3.2 grams, which means we're filling this with 3.2 grams of air.
I never would have guessed that. I would have thought it was like 1/10 of a gram, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Air weighs more than you'd think. Put a cylinder around the Eiffel Tower, and the air inside will weigh more than the tower itself.
Food for thought.
Okay, so what's next?
I think we have to deflate these and fill them with helium next.
As everyone knows, inhaling lighter-than-air helium gives you a high-pitched voice. It's predictable, juvenile, and dangerous behavior. In other words, irresistible.
It's weird talking without any oxygen in your system. Wow!
You could die that way.
Yeah, I know. I always have to stop when my lips get blue.
So, 2 issues there. Helium makes your voice sound funny, and it can kill you.
Yeah, that seems just fine.
First, the funny bit. It's all to do with the speed at which the sound of your voice travels through air.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
And through helium.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Helium is only half as dense as air, so sound travels through it almost twice as fast. This doubles the frequency, making it sound squeaky. The second issue is much simpler. Humans don't work on helium, so don't try it at home. Back at the weigh-in.
It's actually almost 7 grams different between the helium-filled football at regulation pressure and the air-filled football at regulation pressure.
And what's more, it turns out that even an empty ball weighs more than a helium-filled one.
Even though I know a helium balloon will float up in the air because helium's lighter than air, I didn't expect that helium, even a small amount like 3.25 psi of helium, would actually reduce the weight of the football by probably almost a full percentage point.
It doesn't sound much, but if the myth's correct, the weight loss provided by helium could turn an ordinary kick into an extraordinary one.
Kick this one out the back of the end zone again.
Amazingly, our researchers might have actually turned up the source of this myth, which is a punter who played for the Oakland Raiders from 73 to 1986 by the name of Ray Guy.
Yeah, his punts stayed in the air so long and they went so high that the NFL actually had to come up with a statistical term for it, which they called hang time.
During the course of the day, everything I hit was at least 5 seconds or better hang time, and it was going exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah, as the story goes, during a game in the 70s against the Houston Oilers, one of his punts hung so long in the air that the ball was immediately collected and tested for the presence of helium.
Once I hit it, the ball just took off, and it seemed like it just stayed up there forever. Billy, a few years later, told me that Bum hollered at him and told him, said, "Hey, get that football. We're going to take it back and have it analyzed," because they thought I had helium in it, which we have pretty much a standing joke about it now.
There was no helium, but despite the lack of evidence, the myth persisted, which is why it's found itself on this show. That's enough historical background. time for a gratuitous explosion.
The question we're going to answer here is how much pressure can a football actually take before it bursts? We don't really need to answer that question, but you know, we get to blow something up. Okay, are you ready? There we go. 80, 90. Oh! That was great.
Oh, look at that.
That was about 110 pounds per square inch.
So, there's your answer. At 110 psi, you'll lose a football. That's really cool. But gain a hat.
What are you doing?
I put everything on my head.
The bullet in the teeth myth hasn't quite bitten the dust, but it's shot full of holes. Now, Grant's come up with a plan, and he's aiming high.
I think we need to build something that'll be able to catch a bullet.
And so you're going to build some kind of a rig that'll catch it?
Yeah, be able to sense when the bullet comes and time it so that it closes the teeth at the exact right moment.
He's planning a 25-foot course with a gun at one end and a set of metal jaws at the other. When the gun's trigger is activated by a remote firing mechanism, it sends a signal to a digital timer on the pneumatic jaws. By calculating how long it takes for the bullet to reach them, Grant can program a delay so the jaws fire at precisely the right moment. Building the rig isn't the problem. Grant has plenty of experience with remote controls and pneumatic actuators from his robot designs. Like great comedy, the secret's in the timing.
Okay.
Using the high-speed camera, Grant works out that the bullet will reach the jaws in just 23 milliseconds. The punchline is that's exactly how long it takes for the jaws to shut.
Dude, it's beautiful.
Excellent.
So the next question is, how long does it take the bullet to exit the muzzle after the trigger has been squeezed?
I have a little light in there that turns on when I trigger it. So we're going to see the time delay between when the light turns on and when a bullet actually comes out of the muzzle. 3, 2, 1. That's 43 milliseconds. So maybe I do trigger them both at the same time, and it'll be really close.
While Grant crunches the numbers, Tori wants a second bite at the pendulum test. He's got doubts about the dentures. The test was a kick in the teeth for the skeptics, as the acrylic choppers coped with the kinetic energy of a speeding bullet. But real teeth might not be so resilient. They've got a hard enamel coating, but the inside is a soft material called dentin. So, where to get some real choppers to chew on?
Well, we can always go get a pig head. We could, take the jaws from the pig, and that would be a much better representation than the plastic teeth. I mean, they're a lot stronger than a human's, but I mean, if we can prove that the pig head can't hold a bullet, then there's no way a human could.
Couldn't we find a story where we don't work in dead animals? For real.
Sure, Carrie. When pigs fly.
Not it. I don't want to go pick them up.
Not it. I got something else to work on.
Which makes Tori lucky last. And he's the only one with the stomach to cut out the jaws. Tori gets gory.
Carrie, did you want the snout? Because I was going to throw it away unless you wanted...
That is probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen, and I'm trying to stay in my happy place.
As they say on the cooking shows, here's one we prepared earlier.
I have my jaws and my teeth from the pig, and I have the cylinder through it. All I have to do now is mount it to our rig, and then we'll test it, see if it can actually hold a bullet.
Biting the bullet's not a problem, but the teeth in front of it have to be filed down so the steel rod has a clear path to the slug.
That is the creepiest looking rig. You made a meat puppet.
Carrie's trying to stay composed, which is more than can be said of the pig's remains under the hot television lights.
It's getting ripe. The pig head's starting to smell right.
Time to unleash that pendulum once more. With 50 pounds of weight from a height of 4 feet, it matches the force of a bullet.
3, 2, 1. That was cool. See the bullet? It flew right out of his mouth.
A pig jaw is a lot stronger. It has a lot more integrity than a human jaw. This is a great test because if he couldn't hold onto a bullet,
there's no way a human could.
No way a human could hold onto a bullet.
Quite probably. But just to be sure, let's see what happens when the pendulum is replaced by a .357 Magnum with a 38 wad cutter round. An old shipping container is now the Mythbusters' very own firing range.
We have a bullet in the pig's teeth biting down at my bite pressure. It's a lot like what we were doing with the pendulum test, except we're going to be firing a live round onto the bullet that's in the teeth. All right, here we go. Fire in the hole in 3, 2, 1.
That settles it. If a bullet does this to a pig's pegs, then a human jaw has no chance.
Oh my God, it blew his teeth out. It just blew his teeth out.
Here's one of them.
Oh, God.
So, what have we learned from all this? Well, one thing's for certain. The so-called most dangerous trick in the world is just that. A trick, not a stunt.
I have one little warning. This is serious. 4 men have been killed in attempting this feat. It's a neat trick, but let's leave it right there.
Good idea. Let's face it, it's humanly impossible to catch a speeding bullet. But on this show, that's no reason not to try. And Grant's bullet-catching rig is right on track. In the high-flying myth of the helium football, Adam and Jamie have been weighing up the differences between air and helium.
Not surprisingly, we found the first element of truth in this story. A helium-filled football is shockingly lighter than a football filled with air.
Yeah, well, now we need to determine whether that translates to a farther distance when it's kicked, right?
Yeah.
Well, more hang time.
Absolutely. It's time for an indoor test. Indoor, some large building where we can eliminate the weather variable.
And maybe we'll get one of those kicking machines to eliminate the human element in the kick, which is probably a really big thing.
Oh, yeah. The Mythbusters mechanical boot arrives.
That is scary.
It's usually used for catching practice, but on this special team, it's the big game kicker.
Boom! Pretty scary thing.
This looks dangerous.
Jamie sets up a target. And it's 1st and 10. That's almost an exact replica of Adam's throwing arm. For the 2nd down, he turns up the muscle.
Ready?
Yeah.
Hey, we hit the target. But it's still not, we're not getting a spiral.
Jamie consults the manual. Adam dives straight in. That's how things work around here.
Hey, that's a spiral.
Was it?
That was a beautiful spiral.
Pretty soon, Adam's as accurate as a seasoned quarterback.
Now he's all excited.
I am excited.
Who knew sport could be so much fun?
Well, that's good enough for me. What's next?
What's next is we take that machine and a bunch of these balls and some helium and some air out to indoor stadium.
It's got to be indoors, away from the weather, and it's got to be big. So the guys head for a location that's got all the space they need. NASA's Ames facility at Moffett Field. This hangar should be big enough.
I get vertigo just from the sheer size. It's like not moving the way it should.
The hangar's so big, the airplanes parked in it look like toys.
And this is the largest building I have ever been in. It's about 230 feet to the ceiling. It's nearly a quarter of a mile long, and they park blimps in these things. Even though a building this large can develop its own micro weather systems, and I'm not kidding, there is no breeze, there's no wind, so it's the perfect place to test our football throwing machine and see if there is a difference in the hang time between helium and air and other stuff.
First, they assemble today's MVP, the kicking machine. Then Adam paces out the test area.
That's the length of a football field, 100 yards. I can't imagine it's going to fire farther than this.
That's kind of like a little too up in the air, I think.
Either the kicker's having an off day,
that was not a spiral at all,
or there's a flag on the play of this myth-busting method.
It landed like this. This is a problem. We got to work this one out. The way it's going now, it's like a total disaster. They're just landing
all over the place.
Yeah, one's like 50 feet, the other's 200 feet.
I was keeping my hand on every single one.
Let's try that without that.
Okay.
Ready? I'm gonna try this one. Yeah. It actually looks like a good spiral.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
The hands-off approach is the way to go.
That's one of the farthest throws yet.
That's beautiful.
And by jury-rigging a firing mechanism with a bungee cord, they maximize their chances of consistency.
Oh, I love it. This is beautiful. These are all landing just where I want.
With each kick on the same ballpark, the first test can begin.
Air 13 PSI bungee cord. Ball number 1.
Doesn't get better than that. Hit the 200-foot mark. Okay, ready?
Adam marks the landing spot of each ball. All 10 are right on the money. Or close enough, at least. To get a suitable sample size, they shoot off a second set of 10, to Adam's satisfaction.
Very, very happy with that. That bungee really evened everything out. There's still a couple of anomalies, but out of 10, I only had 3. That's good enough for Mythbusters.
The myth that you can catch a bullet in your teeth has been shot to pieces. But Grant's been building a rig that can do the trick for real. His pneumatic gnashers are ready to bite the bullet, and with live ammo involved, the guys head for the firing range of the South San Francisco Police Department.
Oh man, this brings back memories.
Exactly 25 feet right there.
Chief Firearms Instructor Sergeant Alan Normandy has agreed to supervise. He's aided and abetted before when the guys busted the blown away myth. It was Sergeant Normandy who finally knocked Buster off his perch. Unfortunately, he's also had first-hand experience with would-be bullet catchers.
I've seen the aftermath of someone who's attempted that. The damage is fairly devastating. At a distance of 20 feet or so, I would imagine that you're going to have primarily just a puncture wound with a pistol round, but still certainly go through the mouth cavity and whatever's behind it without much difficulty.
In this case, the mouth is made of metal. Grant's robotic jaws are designed to snap shut with just the right amount of delay to catch a speeding bullet fired from a remotely triggered gun 25 feet away.
The range is yours.
Okay.
Then load it up.
You want... That looks pretty good.
First, they need to run some tests. They fire a few rounds at the target to make sure they're hitting the same spot every shot.
All right. It went right through the same hole. That's good.
Then they position the jaws in the firing line.
Pressurizing the system.
And Grant activates the pneumatic actuator, which will snap them shut.
And we are armed.
Then he captures them closing on high-speed camera.
3, 2, 1. Nice.
And works out to the millisecond how long it takes them to shut.
I know how long it takes from when I triggered the gun to when the bullet comes out of the muzzle. I know how long it takes from when I trigger the teeth to when they actually close, and I know the distance and the speed of the bullet. That's going to tell me exactly how long I have to wait to trigger the jaws so that the bullet gets there exactly as they close.
Grant does the math based on a bullet traveling at over 850 feet per second.
So 857 feet per second.
And he comes up with a delay time on the jaws of 82 milliseconds.
Okay.
He punches in the magic number so that 82 thousandths of a second after the gun fires, the teeth will start to close. Everything is set.
Sergeant Normandy, may I load?
Absolutely, go ahead.
For the first time ever, the bullet in the teeth trick is ready to be tried for real.
3, 2, 1. Whoa!
You hit it. Wow.
Wow.
It looks like it closed a little too soon.
Tori's right. But that's pretty good for a first try.
Looks like the jaws are closing a little soon, so I'm going to increase my delay by 4 3/4 milliseconds. Call it 5, and we should be ready to try it again. In 3, 2, 1.
I saw a little debris pop off there. Look, dude, it's a perfect track where the lead has rubbed off against the steel.
That is really close.
Grant uses the high-speed camera to fine-tune the delay mechanism on the jaws. By tracking the bullet's progress frame by frame, he can estimate how many milliseconds the jaws are missing by and make the correct adjustment.
Okay, 1 millisecond. There we go. In 3, 2, 1.
The jaws are still missing by the skin of their teeth, but the bullet either splatters on steel or goes straight down the gullet.
I don't think with these you're going to see it stuck in the mouth like a magician just caught it. I think it's just going to squish right on through.
Even with precision timing, down to thousandths of a second, it's still proving to be one tough trick to pull off.
There's absolutely no way the human response time could remotely catch a bullet. I mean, we've got timers. This is the closest thing to a sure thing that we could possibly have.
Time to try a different set of metal mandibles. These duckbills have a greater surface area. Maybe they'll be better able to hang on to the bullet.
3, 2, 1.
It's agonizingly close.
I can't say I'm totally surprised with the results, but this is as close as...
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, this is as close, I think, as we're going to get. If it can be done, we're right there on the threshold of it.
Lots of shrapnel.
6 shots in, success.
Oh!
That's got to be it.
It looked like it just exploded.
That's got to be it. It exploded inside the mouth.
When soft lead struck steel, the bullet basically melted.
Good job, you guys. Nice. We caught a bullet.
Nice.
Not much left of the bullet, but we caught it.
I don't know. That smear of lead, well, it's so unsatisfying. It'd be better if the bullet still looked like a bullet at the end. So, a slight change of tack.
For this series of tests, we've switched from the lead slug to a full metal jacket. This is a flat nose full metal jacket. It's got a thin copper shell. And we think this is going to give us a better chance of having an intact bullet at the end. In our test with the lead slug, it's like trying to catch a raw egg. As soon as you clamp down, everything squirts out the back.
Duck bill, full metal jacket, 99 milliseconds delay.
3, 2, 1.
Once again, it takes a little time.
That looks like we closed too early.
But eventually, bullseye.
Clear!
In your face!
It's no use. The forces at work are just too great for the bullet to stay in shape. Still,
That's a caught bullet. That is a caught bullet. Just in case anybody disputes the high speed whatsoever, I would like to point out these wonderful track marks and the little exploded bullet right here. This is amazing evidence we actually got to catch a bullet.
by way of celebration, they take a pot shot at a set of pearly whites.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh! Ow!
But the teeth bite back.
I got hit in the face.
What?
With a tooth, I guess.
Now, that'd wipe the smile off any magician's face.
All right, guys. Catching a bullet with your teeth. Is it busted?
Well, we know that human reaction time isn't fast or accurate enough. We had to use electronic timers, and even then it was tough.
And human teeth just aren't strong enough. We found that out from the pig experiment.
But in any case, on impact, a bullet will explode, and that's what it's designed to do.
So, that sounds fully busted.
Busted.
Back at NASA, the Mythbusters are testing whether helium-filled footballs fly further. They fired 20 air-filled balls and measured the distance of each one. Now it's time to fill the balls with lighter-than-air helium.
Oh! 13 pounds on the first try.
They fire off the first set of 10.
Bang!
And the exit pole's not looking good for helium.
Off the top of my head, just looking at how things landed, it looks like the regulation ball filled to 13 psi, regulation pressure, flies better than filling it with helium.
10 final helium balls finish off the experiment.
Dead on the money with its predecessor. I love that. I like consistent data. I love consistent data.
When they're done, they've got 60 data points for analysis. But first impressions are that this myth is coming up short.
Look, I mean, the myth is a helium-filled football will fly farther than an air-filled football. They don't mean by an inch or something. They don't mean by a foot. The myth is that there's a significant improvement. I think we could all assume that that improvement would be something where everyone would go, whoa, why did the ball fly that far? Wait, check it. Hey, it's filled with helium kind of thing. We're not talking tiny little differences. What we're seeing is tiny little differences.
And even though they've yet to crunch the numbers, early indications are that the helium balls have lost out to the air-filled ones.
Based on what I'm seeing so far, this is exactly what I would expect. There's not much of a difference, but in spite of what you might think, a lighter ball is going to be easier to travel farther. Physics determines that if we launch the ball at the same speed and it has more mass, that's actually going to go further. So
it's all to do with inertia, which, according to Newton's first law of motion, states that the heavier an object, the more inertia it has, and the more resistance to drag. In other words, a helium-filled football should not fly as far as an air-filled one, fired at the same speed. So, does the experiment back up Newtonian physics? Or have the Mythbusters blown a hole in the laws of science? Statistician Deborah Nolan concludes that the results are inconclusive.
Well, unfortunately, the difference between helium and air-filled balls is not statistically significant.
So
that doesn't mean there isn't a difference, but I can't see the difference in the data that you've provided.
To get a clear statistical result would require a sample of thousands of kicks, which just isn't possible.
I think the day we end up with time to do thousands of trials on something, Jamie's mustache is going to fall off.
But there is time for one final experiment, just to make sure that every angle of this myth has been well and truly covered.
I mean, the whole time we've been testing a myth about hang time, and maybe it's about something totally different, like transfer of energy. I mean, suppose helium is springier at 13 psi than air and would allow a kicker's foot to impart more energy to the ball and make it go further.
the machine we were using in the hangar seemed to me to replicate more of a throw than a kick. So maybe it's about time that we actually build a kicking rig.
So this myth goes into extra time, and to nail it once and for all, they're going to use a hammer.
There's your kicker.
Okay.
The A-frame from the bullet in the teeth pendulum test should do nicely. Some minor modifications, a high-speed camera, and soon the sledgehammer is ready to crack this sporting nut.
All right, let's try that, Jamie. We've got the camera cranked up to 1,000 frames per second. We're looking for how fast that ball takes off, what the exit speed is. If it's faster, it means there's a better transfer of energy, and we're going to try and find that out. So, first test, this is an air-filled ball to 13 psi.
Okay.
Is high speed ready? And 3, 2, 1. Thrilling stuff. Let's bring the hammer down.
By studying the high-speed footage, they can calculate the speed of the ball as it leaves the frame.
The hammer speed, which I'm measuring just to make sure each of our tests is consistent, was 18.5 feet per second. The ball's exit speed, this is good, was 31.25 feet per second.
That's the baseline for comparison. Now, for a helium football's last hurrah.
Okay, there it is, 13 psi, helium.
If this football's exit speed is higher than the air-filled one, then the myth is still possible.
In 3, 2, 1.
If not, then it's game over. So, what's the final score?
It's exactly the same speed as before. The 16 frames to travel 6 inches, 32 frames per foot equals 31.25 feet per second.
Identical. The game's up for the myth of the helium football.
So, finally, the myth that a helium-filled football flies farther than a football filled with air, what's the verdict?
It's absolutely busted. It's not about being lighter than air, it's about having the ability to push through the air. So actually being a little heavier is an advantage.
Yeah, no, we found doing the math that if you kick a ball 70 yards, one filled with helium and one filled with air, the advantage is to the ball filled with air, but it's only about an inch. That's over 250 feet, 1 inch of advantage.
It seems that the designers and manufacturers of these footballs have already figured all this out for some strange reason, and these balls are pretty much maxed out in their ability to travel through the air. They're the ideal balance of weight and size and shape.
Well, I don't think this is the last we've heard of this, but I'm willing to call this one totally busted.
Busted.